Welcome back to Scary Hours. I'm your host, P, and tonight I'm serving up 6 movies from the 80s horror vault. The films that defined the decade's taste for practical effects, weird ideas, and actually scared you without relying on jump scares every 5 seconds. Almost 40 years later, and these classics not only hold up, but actively slap harder than most of the modern horror we seeing today. So, dim the lights and let's time warp back to the noisier, bloodier era of the cinema. Let's dive in. First up, Prom Night 2, Hello, Mary Lou, a 1987 supernatural horror directed by Bruce Pittman, starring Michael Ironside, Wendy Lyon, and Louis Figueroa. A prom queen's tortured spirit rises to get revenge against those responsible for her death. Started right, and no better way than with the 80s supernatural mix of prom night melodrama and campy spectral revenge. Goes to show that Carrie wasn't the only one having a horrible time at prom. Here we have the hot and horny and deceased Mary Lou Maloney's spirit returning decades later to possess the next generation's prom queen candidate and leave a trail of blood if anyone gets in her way to reclaim her crown. One of my old school faves because of how they blend possession tropes with slasher elements, and the set pieces really give off an 80s horror vibe, making this a fun nostalgic watch. Definitely say cue this up if you got some friends over and drinks flowing for a retro segment to your marathon. And the best part is you can catch Prom Night 2, Hello Mary Lou, streaming on Tubi for free right now.
They're playing our song. Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2.
A classic, The Thing, a 1982 sci-fi horror movie directed by John Carpenter, starring Kurt Russell and Keith David. A group of researchers in Antarctica encounter an alien life form that can imitate anything. Once again, you know I gotta have some John Carpenter action in here, and his score is in the mix off the top. This is an all-time favorite and one of the movies guaranteed to get 1 to 2 watches every spooky season through my marathons. The whole movie's filled with dread and paranoia, turning friends into suspects. Isolated on an Arctic research station, the crew discovers that there's an alien shapeshifter among them and can clone its victims. Even the dogs aren't exempt. They can get it too. But now nobody can trust who's who, and you can feel all of the tension in the blood test scene when they're all huddled and tied up in a small room, drawing blood from each man, just waiting for one of them to have a reaction, revealing he's the thing. For an early 80s flick, the body horror and practical effects are top notch. Hold up 40-some years later. This is a perfect late night viewing when you're alone in a dark room with your popcorn, so check out The Thing, streaming on AMC and Peacock. Next, Night of the Demons, a 1988 horror thriller directed by Kevin S. Tenney, starring Amelia Kincaid, Kathy Podwell, and Linnea Quigley. A group of teenagers attend a party at a funeral parlor on Halloween night where they accidentally release a demon that possesses one of them. Another old school favorite you can't go wrong with, teen party horror that combines gory practical effects with a campy sense of scary fun. I remember renting this 1,000 times from Blockbuster as a youngin', just so me and my bro could trip off a certain scene involving lipstick. I mean, if you know, you know. Don't judge me, we were kids. But anyway, a Halloween party at an old funeral parlor doesn't sound like my cup of tea, but this group's all in. Then hold a seance using a mirror and unwittingly summon demonic forces, possessing the host Angela and turning the celebration into carnage. This is like the blueprint for a wild Halloween party movie full of festive atmosphere, practical makeup and prosthetics, and chaos. A great watch for groups who want to shift between laughs and scares, so log into that free Tubi account and get the streaming Night of the Demons.
Staring at me?
Damn it, Suzanne, your makeup is fine. Come on, what are you worried about? Ah! Jeez! Christ!
Stop looking at me.
Next, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, a 1987 horror film directed by Chuck Russell, starring Heather Langenkamp, Patricia Arquette, and Robert Englund. A psychiatrist familiar with the dream demon Freddy Krueger helps teens at a mental hospital battle the killer who is invading their dreams. No doubt one of the most popular films in the franchise. Used to have this poster hanging on my wall back in the days, and you can tell the horror icon we all know as Freddy Krueger was blowing up at this point with a bigger budget, effects, and set pieces for this new wave of Elm Street victims falling prey to Freddy's dream assaults. Nancy returns now as a counselor and Freddy connoisseur to help the young patients find ways to fight back and hone in on their dream powers. This one leans into dark fantasy and dream logic, creative dream sequences, and wild imaginative practical creature work like the giant worm or snake-like thing Freddy turns into and almost swallows Kristen. So that alone makes it an 80s effects showpiece, blending childlike nightmare imagery with genuine technical mastery. In my opinion, this is when Freddy still had a bit of real deal terror in him before he became more comical. Still great to watch in 2025 with the lights low and the surround sound up to feel that Wes Craven style dread, but just missed it streaming everywhere for October, so you have to rent it now or purchase it. Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors on Amazon or Fandango.
Sorry, kid. I don't believe in fairy tales.
Next, Trick or Treat, a 1986 supernatural horror film directed by Charles Martin Smith, starring Mark Price, Lisa Orgolini, and Tony Fields. Follows an outcast metalhead teenager who is haunted by the ghost of his satanic rock hero. Definitely the most unknown movie on this list. I'm willing to bet most of you checking this video right now have not ever heard of this movie, and that's where I come into play, to recommend the best blast from the past that you never heard of. This is a blend of heavy metal mythology and supernatural revenge with equal parts of that music-driven satanic panic spectacle. After a deranged rock star's death, obsession and occult influence drives a teenager's metal-fueled payback on those who wronged him. Mark Price stands out as the typical 80s outcast being bullied by the cool kids and labeled weird for liking rock music until he uses Sammy Kerr for his get back, and things get out of hand when the music and supernatural revenge meet each other. This is extremely 80s all the way down to the soundtrack and rock star image of the tight leather pants, big hair, and eyeliner, but works as a high energy campy horror ride. You just need to crank up the volume and embrace this throwback. Unfortunately, it's a hard to find one, so you'll have to get a subscription to Screenbox or catch a copy of Trick or Treat on YouTube. Finally, The Hitcher, a 1986 horror thriller directed by Robert Harmon, starring Rutger Hauer, C. Thomas Howell, and Jennifer Jason Leigh. Follows a murderous hitchhiker who stalks a young motorist across the West Texas highways. Now this one is raw and unforgiving road thriller, anchored by a chilling psychopathic villain escalating the violence and paranoia. See, here's a great example why you should never pick up a hitchhiker. You have no idea who you letting in your car. The late great Rutger Hauer brings the pain in this long, unnerving cat and mouse game, unfolding on a long stretch of highway when a young driver picks up a stranger who proves to be an insane instrument of terror. Then what begins as a roadside encounter becomes a spiral of fear and survival, and you can feel the helplessness in Thomas Howell's character while he's trapped in the car not knowing what to do or how to get away from this unpredictable menace. The film's relentless pacing and villain create an atmosphere full of dread that never lets up, which makes this perfect for when you want tension more than jump scares. So this is a best watch one in a single focus sitting. Right now you can catch a copy of The Hitcher streaming on YouTube, or if you're subscribed to Cinemax.
Why are you doing this to me?
And there you have it, my good people. That wraps up 6 essential 80s horror movies, each one a different flavor of the decade. All still had that timeless appeal of well-crafted scares and the nostalgic pull for new generations of horror fans. Whether you want to laugh, cringe, or hide under the bed, this lineup has you covered. Cue them up, dim the lights, and let the nostalgia bite you. Also, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Or if there's any movies you recommend, let me know and I'll get right back to you. Also, don't leave without sharing this video, liking, and subscribing to the channel for more scary hours. Until the next time, I'm Pia Pinpoint Pictures. Y'all be safe out there. Peace.